Hi guys, so this here is the XPS 13 9360. It's a 2016-17 model of the XPS 13. It's probably the most talked about laptop in the market. It's well known for its design. It's got an all aluminum shell, so that's top and bottom, which means you have a very rugged finish. You drop this thing, it's not going to break. And on the inside, and it's kind of hard to open because it's got stiff hinges. You have a carbon fiber finish, which again is very lightweight but durable material, so you're not going to be able to press in on this. It's just rock solid. Very durable laptop, high quality materials. Of course, the Infinity Edge display, you can see the display almost goes to the very top here. Very cool look. It saves space, means that this overall is a smaller footprint, fits in your backpack super easy, easy to carry, weighs under 3 pounds. So great laptop. It comes with a price. Starts at $800, goes up to, well, $1,800 depending on what components you choose. This model I'm reviewing has an Intel Core i7 processor, 16 gig of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and a QHD Plus touchscreen. So that cost $1,499. I bought it in the store, Costco. If you get it on Dell.com, it's going to cost like $1,799, I believe. So you can save some money if you shop in different places. Dell.com is flexible and more configurable, so you can get exactly what you want there. And it does start at $799 there, which is the cheapest you can get for this particular laptop. So it seems perfect, right? But there are some knocks against it. I'll go into it in this review. The keyboard is good, but it's a little shrunken in size with some of those keys. The laptop gets a little warm. It has this thing called coil whine. It tends to only happen on the higher end models with the faster processors. I'll demo that in the review. It's basically this screeching noise you can hear when the laptop is getting pushed real hard and doing a lot of work. I've also had a little bit of problems with the web camera and the microphone on it. The webcam is down here in the lower point over here, the lower left side of the laptop. Which means when you use it, it's looking up your nose. Usually the webcam's on the top of the bezel here, but there's no room because it's an Infinity Edge display. Yeah, I mean, it's a great laptop, not perfect, and this review will go into why that is. Let's talk about the design of the XPS 13 9360. So, first of all, it's got a nice robust carbon fiber finish on the inside. And it's actually made of carbon fiber. It's not just the finish, so it's a very, very solid feeling inside of the laptop here, so you won't be able to press it with your palms. It's very rugged. It won't, it's not going to break. The screen hinges, very, very solid, so it's hard to move this lid even. You're not going to get a lot of wobble. The lid is made of aluminum, so again, very solid. It's going to be very durable. On the underside, you also have a very strong material, aluminum. So you see there, it's an all-metal laptop, the shell at least. And actually opening it is kind of hard because the hinge is so strong that it really takes, I can't just open it with one. If I start to open it with one, it actually lifts up the laptop. So I have to hold down with one hand and lift with the other in order for it to open. Okay. So as far as like the screen quality, it's a nice screen. This is a QHD screen, so it's touch screen, so I can like move this image around on the screen here simply by touching it. And that's a nice feature to have. You know, we're also used to having tablets these days, and you know, you go to touch a screen and it doesn't do anything. That's frustrating. So being able to reach out and touch a screen is really a nice feature. It is reflective. I have to mention that. So if you get the touchscreen, it's glossy and reflective, so you'll get reflections, especially if it's a dark screen. The Infinity Edge display is nice, so you see it fills out almost all the way up to the top bezel here. Usually with a laptop you get like a kind of an ugly thick bezel around here, and it leads to a larger overall laptop. Now there is one downside I'll mention, and that's the fact that because there's no space up here, there's nowhere to put the webcam. So the webcam is actually down here in the lower left corner, which means when you're shooting video, as I'll demonstrate in another section, you have like an up the nose shot. It's like looking up at you. So it's not a very flattering look, and it's kind of one of those things about the XPS 13 that people know about and don't like. But if you want the Infinity Edge display, well, where else are you going to put the webcam? You're kind of stuck there. So that's why Dell put the webcam actually down there on the lower left side. So overall, you know, the XPS 13 gets an A for design. It's just a nice looking laptop, durably built. It's going to hold up in the long run. And, you know, it's just nice to have a technology tool that's got a good look and not just utilitarian. So let's take a look at the ports on the XPS 13. So this is the left side of the laptop. Starting at the back here, we have the power jack port. Then this is a Thunderbolt USB-C port. You can actually charge using that port if you have a USB-C charging adapter. This is a USB 3.0 port right here. And then right here you have your headphone jack. And this little button right here is actually a battery indicator. If you push it, it'll light up and show you how much charge your battery has. So there you can see pretty much fully charged there because we had 5 lights that came on. So each light represents 20% charge. Now on the front of the laptop there are no ports whatsoever. So we're going to go right around to the right side. And you'll see that one of my USB 3.0 ports right here is taken up by a Logitech unifying receiver I use for my mouse. Over here, that's a Kensington lock connector, so if you want to lock your laptop down so it can't be stolen, you can use that. And then right here is an SD card reader slot. And then the back is just the hinge. There's nothing back there either. So you just have ports on the sides of the laptop. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty good connectivity and everything you need. You've got the USB-C and the USB 3.0, so you're kind of backwardly compatible and forward compatible. You've got the current generation and the future generation of connectors there. The XPS 13 comes in a variety of configurations. I happen to have one of the highest spec configs. I've got the Intel Core i7 processor that runs at 2.4 gigahertz and then 16 gig of RAM. And then as far as storage, I have in here the 512 gigabyte SSD. So it's pretty much so spec'd out to the top as far as performance. So what does that get you in terms of a Geekbench 4 score? Well, we look here. For the single core score is 4,175, and for the multi-core score is 8,848. As you'll see, that easily beat out the earlier Dell Latitude E7270 that had a Core i5 that I reviewed. You'll see the scores were about 25% higher there. So performance is good, and the graphics performance is good too with the Intel Iris graphics that are in there. Now, sometimes I do get a bit of like heat coming from this when we run graphics intensive applications. So like this is running like Cinebench like I have right here. You might not be able to hear it, but the fans are going to start to kick up here in just a second. And the bottom of the laptop on the underside also gets warm as well. So that performance does come at a cost. You get quite a bit of heat with this thing. Some people have been putting thermal paste. This means opening it up and putting some paste on the processor to make it so it cools down more easily and faster. Of course, you have to be pretty savvy to do that. The average user might not be able to do that. But, you know, if you don't need the power, you can get a Core i3 configuration that's only $799, so you can save some money there. This configuration costs $1,500, so you pay a lot of money to get those the very best components, and it might not be necessary for everyone. So I would say definitely, you know, set your budget, and if you don't need the performance, you can actually get like a decent price is $799 starting out. You're just not going to get the same performance, but if all you're doing is web browsing, email, etc., you don't really need much performance. Let's talk a little bit about the XPS 13 keyboard here. It's a decent keyboard. It's not quite full size. The keys are slightly shrunken, especially in the top row here. You'll see that they're shrunken, and your home and end keys are shrunken down here on the lower right side. As far as like the feel of the keyboard, the travel is quite shallow, so you're not going to get like the same. Well, I always use the ThinkPad keyboard as like the be all and end all of keyboards, and you just don't get the same nice tactile feedback. It's a little like when you push down, you come to a hard stop with it. So it's not a springy, nice key that I like, but most people won't be bothered by it. The touchpad is a nice size, and you have plenty of area. It's not quite as big as some of the touchpads out there, not quite as big as the MacBook, and I believe the HP Spectre has a bigger touchpad. But the feel is nice. Your fingers can travel smoothly over it. I sometimes have the issue of like my wrist will brush over the touchpad, and it'll move the cursor accidentally without intention, and I find I'm typing on part of the screen that I didn't intend to. So be aware of that. I do like to have a pointing stick, but most laptops don't have that these days, certainly not consumer laptops. So overall, I mean, this keyboard is a good one. Not great, just good. It's very solid. It doesn't have any like mushiness or sink to it, so you're not going to have like with the cheaper laptops, when you push down, you'll see it like depressing in. You definitely don't get that here. So that's a good thing. So overall, I give this keyboard a B. Laptop that's really important is battery life. Now I've been getting around 8 to 8.5 hours of the XPS 13 when I'm just using a browser and on medium to high brightness. And here you'll see I've got this program called Battery Mon, and I've run it a few times now, and it's telling me that the average time I've been able to run the battery from full to empty is 7 hours and 58 minutes. And that's about right. So if you're using this on the go and you have the QHD screen and the Intel Core i7 processor, you can expect that battery life. If you have a lower spec processor such as a Core i3 or Core i5 and a lower resolution screen, you're going to get better battery life, probably around 9 or 10 hours versus the 8 hours I get on this one. I had a couple of questions about how good the speakers were in the XPS 13. And the answer is, they're pretty good, but that's for this size laptop. I wouldn't say they're great. They don't have much bass, so it's kind of hard to demo speakers on YouTube because it's dependent upon like how your laptop speakers are, how this is going to sound, and how good the microphone is on the video recorder I'm using. But anyway, let's give it a whirl. I'm using some Creative Commons music here, so it's not going to get flagged by YouTube. And let's just hit play, and I'll just show you where the speakers are while we listen to this. So let's turn the volume up. You can just use the media buttons here. So that's level 16 I just put it up to. So the speakers, we have stereo speakers, so you get a speaker down here. It's hard to see, maybe it's on the left side at the front, and then the right side you get another speaker in the exact same place. So it's right here. Hard to see, but it's there, trust me. So at least like with some laptops they put the speaker on the bottom of the laptop, and that's just horrible. At least here they put them on the sides, so it emanates out and you can hear it. Now if you turn it up, it gets a little tinny, so I'll turn it up loud and you'll kind of see what I mean by that. So you'll see when I turned up loud, it did get a little tinny, and the sound just wasn't as good. Of course, you can always use headphones to get the best quality. We have a headphone jack right over here on the left side. So that's, of course, always your best option for getting the best audio. But the speakers are definitely decent and more than passable and better than your average laptop. So just to conclude this review, probably the reason you're watching is you're asking the question, should I buy this XPS 13 9360? And I think the answer is yes, you should buy it if it fits your needs. I actually don't recommend getting the highest spec configuration. I think that the heat issues, the coil whine, and the fan spinning up so frequently with this Core i7 is just kind of an issue that I don't like having for such a priced laptop. I think getting a Core i5 or a Core i3 configuration for cheaper where you're down around that maybe $1,000 or just below price point makes a lot of sense because it's still the same build quality. It's a beautiful design, you know, with the aluminum on the top and the bottom and the carbon fiber you have. It could last you 3, 4, 5 years if you take care of it, whereas some laptops, you know, they fall apart after a year or two. You're not going to get that with the XPS 13. So, you know, I have some reservations in just saying, full out, yeah, goodbye. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because it has its issues. But you know, it is a premium laptop. It's made of great components, and it's got a nice look. Not ugly like half the laptops out there. You know, I've always had good luck with Dell support, so you know, I think that's an important factor, is to make sure you're backed by a strong company and warranty. I just wouldn't spend $1,500 on it. I'd spend less than that and go with something that's you know, it's a reasonable price, but good build quality. If you want a bigger laptop, the XPS 15 doesn't have the coil line issues, and it stays a little cooler because it has more space in there. But it's a bigger laptop. It's not as portable, and that's one of the big advantages of the XPS 13. It's got a nice small footprint, easy to carry around, nice and light, under 3 pounds, nice and thin. It's a great laptop, but it's not perfect. So just keep that in mind.